we continue our investigation into the knight maneuver to h3. As we have seen in the previous video, the old way of playing with c6 and d6, trying to play against the knight on h3, is not very successful. So I think that black should just play his usual Stonewall move d7 to d5, and after knight h3, the most critical move, in my opinion, the best move, I think, is to move bishop d6, which shouldn't come as such a surprise, as it is also the move order that I'm recommending to the development of the knight to f3. So I think that also with the knight on h3, bishop d6 is the way to go. I'm going to be showing you that in the next video. In this one, we're going to have a look at the move c6, because it's anyway very relevant and very interesting to see how to play here. After short castle, bishop d6, white has three options. One is to go queen c2 in this position, and after castle, knight d2, knight bd7, knight f3, all logical moves. Both sides execute their plans here. Knight e4, we reach a position that I have played myself in 2 games. In those games I played the move knight f4, because I felt that after bishop f4, black doesn't exchange, unfortunately, but black plays bishop e7, follows it up with the move g5, making the knights look rather awkward on h3 and f3. Instead I played knight f4, now queen e7, obviously to protect the pawn on e6. And in one game I played the move knight d3 against Ludo Tolhuizen, Dutch player. We played in Brato in 2010. He simply played the move b6, bishop f4 and bishop b7, and this position actually looks very reasonable for black to me. I think that despite the exchange of dark square bishops, which in general we know is not very favorable for black, black's position is very solid. He can prepare rook c8, rook d8, and then go c5, as we've seen before. In the second game against Jaap Vogel, another Dutch player, I played the move c4, c5, thinking that after bishop c7, knight d3, I have firm control over e5, and I'm threatening the move bishop f4 on the next move. But here Vogel played the move which really requires some guts, but I think it's definitely correct. It's the move g7 to g5, taking away the f4 square from the bishop and preparing some kind of kingside initiative. Here I played the move b3 because I felt that after b4, a5, black is a little bit vulnerable on the queen side. I cannot protect the pawn with a3 because of the pin, so after a takes b4 I would have to take back with the knight, obviously not ideal. That's why I played the move b3, and after g4, knight f takes e5, knight takes e5, d takes e5, we reached what was a critical position in the game, in fact. He played bishop d7, but after bishop h6, rook to f7, and now f3, it turned out that the knight on e4 is rather awkwardly placed. After knight g5, queen d2, the only square it has is h3, but that's obviously far from ideal, and I managed to win the game quite quickly after that. Critical is the move h5. Now the point is after bishop h6, rook f7, queen c1, trying to trap the knight with f3. Black goes bishop d8, and now after f3 he's ready to go knight g5. Also rook h7 is in the air, h4 is in the air, and with the center closed, it's very unclear to me what white is actually going to do here. While black has this clear plan of going h4, opening the h-file, and getting some action going there. So I don't think that knight f4 is giving white anything, and perhaps the whole move queen c2 can be condemned as simply losing time in this position. I think more critical is knight d2, omitting this move queen c2 altogether, after castle to just go knight f3. The important point is that after d takes c4, white goes a4, not queen c2, because after b5, I think that black can try to really hang on to the pawn and claim it's his. A4 is a better way, because now after b5, there's a takes b5, c takes b5, and the very strong move knight f to g5. Not only is this attacking the rook on a8, but after knight d5 there is the very strong move e2 to e4. really blasting open black's position. After f takes e4, bishop takes e4, we can see some direct threats on h7. I can imagine a queen swinging over to h5. This doesn't look bad. It's not something I would recommend at all. I think that the best move here is knight e4 in order to meet the move bishop f4, typically with bishop e7. We never want to exchange bishop on f4. In fact, we are simply threatening the move g5 followed by g4, highlighting the fact that the knights are a little bit awkward. This cluster of pieces on the king side doesn't look very impressive now. It only looks impressive when black actually exchanges the bishop on f4, when knight takes f4, followed by knight d3, and good control over the central squares would give white a pleasant advantage. But if black just simply goes bishop e7, then there's very little to fear here. I think that black is completely fine. There's a game Nh3-Shabalov, two leading grandmasters. After queen c1, that game continued knight d7. Queen c1 obviously aimed at stopping the move g7, g5. Shabalov played the move knight d7, knight hg5, and continued knight df6. After knight d5 followed knight h5, and it's clear that black has very nice counterplay in this position. The game continued knight takes e4, knight takes f4, g takes f4, f takes e4. And if you want to play through the remainder of the game, it's in the file attached to this DVD. Definitely a very interesting game where black was by no means worse. I think that concludes the move knight to d2. The critical move, I believe, is bishop f4 in this position. But also here, well, you probably know the answer by now. I can wait a few seconds for you to play the best move with black while I keep talking. Exactly, you've guessed it, the move is bishop e7 here. We're not going to exchange, we're never going to exchange these bishops. We're just claiming now that by playing that move, bishop f4, white has simply placed his bishop in the way of his knight. So it's a little bit clumsy how white is set up here. After knight d2, castle, knight f3, black once again is trying to highlight the knight on awkward position of the knight on h3 by going the move h7 to h6. Now the g5 threat is so big that white is more or less forced to take on b8. But after rook takes b8, knight f4, bishop to d6. I don't think that there's much to worry about here. Black has two bishops. He has firm control over e5, especially after knight g6, rook e8, e3. The final important point is to go knight to d7 here. After knight d7, white is ready to, black I should say, is ready to take control over e5 fully with queen f6, so that the knights are not having a stable outpost on e5, and I think that black is doing rather well here. So this is one way to play against knight h3. I think that black is doing okay here. I'm not thrilled about it, but this is definitely a viable way of playing. I think in the next video you will agree with me that bishop d6 is even more convincing, and that's what we'll see in the next video. But for now, just to conclude, that knight h3, as I said, c6, knight h3, d6, one line that I mentioned in the previous video, is not advisable. Already d5 followed by c6 is much more reasonable. Black, I think, has perfectly viable play here, but I think the way to go is bishop d6, and that's what I'm going to show you in the next video.